Did you hear about the backup microphone? We're using this microphone. Okay, very good. I'm wired just like I'm on TV. I'm so excited. Welcome to the second quarterly of the Residents Council. I'm Rita Brown, the president of the council, and we are excited to be live in person for the first time in over 2 years. Thank you for attending, and those of you that are listening on Knox TV, I hope I'll see you in September. We are missing out a great time here, so. Now, if you're able, before we begin, if you'll stand, and our Vice President, Jerry Herod, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you, Jerry. Before we, just a reminder that this is a report format, so if you have questions, if you'll make a note of them, and after the program, you can ask us or give one of the council members a call. We are tight on time. Today's agenda, are we up there? Okay, today's agenda, we have, we're going to introduce the new residents that have moved in since the last quarterly up until the end of May, because we had to get things organized. So if you come in June, you will be recognized in September. So then you have to come back. Next, we'll have the candidates that are on the proposed slate for the 2023 Residents Council. It's already that time. And then the Residents Council committee reports. All right, at this time, I will read the new residents and welcome you. And if you're here, please stand and wave so people can see and know to welcome you. All right, Bob and Kathy Bishoprick. Okay, at the back, thank you. Larry and we can applaud them at the end. How's that? Larry and Carrie George. Grant and Caroline Hammond. Nancy Kinsley. Bob and Sharon Maybury. Kathy Olson. Tom Pfeiffer. Jim and Janet Ransoni. And Sitar and Lori Sheff. I know they're here. Thank you. Welcome. We know that you're going to love it as much as we do. Now I would like to introduce to you the chairman of the nomination committee, Tom Harmon.
Thank you, Rita. As she said, I'm the chairman of the nominations committee, and I would like to thank members of the nomination committee who worked very hard to find and select 6 candidates for the year 2023. The members of the nomination committee are Jerry Herod, Resident Council Vice President, Kathy Summers, Council Representative, Steve Biederman, and Sherry Clark. I've been blessed to have such a fine group of people serving on this committee. The Nominations Committee found and presented to the Resident Council on May the 9th 6 nominees for their consideration. The Resident Council on June the 13th unanimously elected the following candidates to serve on the council beginning in January 2023. It is now my privilege to introduce these newly elected Resident Council members. They are Barbara Brown, Tavra Cornett, Barry Evans, Rich Larkin, Catherine Mitchell, and Jerry Yaris. I want to thank each of you for your willingness to serve in this important endeavor at John Knox Village. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, these were selected as candidates for nomination. The election is actually going to be in September. At this time, are there any nominations from the floor? There being none, I declare that the nominations for 2023 Residence Council are closed, and the slate as presented by Mr. Harmon will be up for election in September. So I hope you'll all be here to vote and be grateful for their time and effort to work. Now I'd like to say a few words about Residence Council. If you're new, you may have heard it. We finally had another new resident breakfast, so we're moving back into the swing of things. Resident Council is, as we said, election is in September, and the new members take office on January 1. In odd number years, we elect 6 people, and then in even number years, 5, so that there's always continuity on the Residence Council. The council composes of 3, and if you all might want to check your phones and zip them to silent, might be good. The executive committee consists of myself as president, vice president Jerry Herod, and secretary and tech guru at the table, Ellie Wells. She's been the biggest blessing. I kind of broke her arm and said, don't you want to switch from activities to secretary? And thank goodness she said yes. The other council members are 8, so there are 8 standing committees, and you've heard from Tom Harmon, so now we'll hear from the other 7, and we start with Kathy Summers, the Activities Committee Chair.
Hi, I'm Kathy Summers, Chair of the Activities Committee, and this is my first Resident Quarterly. I kind of took over a little bit in midstream. So first, I'd like to start by thanking my committee members for activities: Leslie Blair, Joan Cornett, Ed Grohl, Dot Hosterman, Rick Larkin, Noel Schomburg, and Deborah Sheffield, our council rep, Jerry Altenhoff, and our staff liaison, Candace Di Giovanni. I've been practicing how to say that so I could say it right. All right, we've had 3 karaoke nights so far in the Treetop Lounge. It's a popular event. If you haven't been to one, you should go. Next one is tomorrow night at 4:30. And everybody has lots of fun. So come, get a little liquid courage before we start at 4:30 and sing your heart out. The Cinco de Mayo party and the Kentucky Derby party were both great successes. We have the 4th of July party coming up. It's still, last I checked, was open. So if you haven't registered, register for it. The new Sportsplex at Valencia Landing opened, and there are many folks playing pickleball, swimming, and playing tennis. The Bay Art exhibit is going well. Many thanks to Karen Yaris. I don't know if she's here, but anyway, she is kind of heading up the project, even though she's not a member of the Activities Committee. You can expect to see the current exhibit taken down in July and the next one put up in August. Be sure to go to Bay and see the wonderful art created by your friends and neighbors. Coming up, we have the Orange City Elementary School Food Drive. It will probably be in late September or early October. Keep an eye on your Village Weekly for updates as it gets closer. The billiards tournament that is currently going on started with 26 players and is down to 8. The finals are scheduled for this coming weekend, most likely at Valencia. There have been some really good matches so far. Pool School continues to be popular and fills up every time it is offered. It is estimated that there have been about 100 graduates from it, so from our residents. If you haven't noticed yet, there are 2 cornhole boards set up on the pool deck at Valencia Landing. Grab some friends and go on up there for a game. We are getting a sign with the rules and also a scoreboard so that you can go up and play anytime you want. If you're a pickleball player and you want to get better, or you're someone who wants to know more about the game, we're getting a pickleball professional to come to John Knox to hold a pickleball clinic for all levels of play from absolute beginner to advanced. Watch your Village Weekly for dates and times. It will be sometime in July. We are always looking for suggestions for activities, and we're always happy when a resident comes forward and wants to conduct an activity. Please send suggestions to the Activities Committee for further consideration. All suggestions are passed on, and those that are viable are implemented. We especially want suggestions for social events, because we like to be social. Lastly, it is important to log your volunteer hours, both off and on campus, in the volunteer book by Resident Services. There are many ways to volunteer, and you may not even think about it. You may be doing it already, but it could be at your church, it could be at hospice, it could be COP program, Meals on Wheels. And there's many ways also to volunteer on campus, and you may be doing this and not realize it. You could be doing it for Vespers, for Oakview Suites, you could lead an activity, you could be on a committee. Those are all ways to help our village. That's what's going on in activities. Thank you. And next is Pam Gregg from the Communications Committee.
Hello, can you see me? Can you hear me? Okay. I have the pleasure of serving. Sure. Thank you. I have the pleasure of serving with a team who works diligently to improve communication throughout our community. They are Tony Arteclair, Resident Council Representative, Deborah Arteclair, Knox TV, Barbara Brown, Village Weekly, and Val, Louise Kakamis, Village Life Magazine, and the library, Bob Dunham, Photography, Sandy Etchinson, the Village Friends, Miles Hardy, the Portal, and we're very appreciative of Shannon Finley, our staff liaison. While each of the 8 areas of the Communication Committee are important, today's focus will be on the library. The members of the Library Committee are Louise Kakamis, Chairman, Miles Hardy, Finances, Carol Marshall, Technical Services, Claudia Graham, Book Selection, Florence Falter, Books on Wheels, Betty Suber, Activities and Promotions, and Pam Gregg, Communications Committee. The Library and Communications Committee work closely together to ensure that residents have quality resources and services. To that end, the chair of the Library Committee serves on the Communications Committee, and the chair of the Communications Committee serves on the Library Committee. On a regular basis, the Communication Committee receives the following information from the library chairman: a copy of the agenda and minutes from the Library Committee's monthly meeting, a comprehensive monthly status of the library report that is presented at the monthly Communication Committee meeting, a line item budget for the proposed budget for the upcoming year, and a copy of the library's updated policies and procedures manual. Over the past 12 months, the committee has accomplished a great deal to improve the appearance, functionality, and content of the library. They have brought the entire book collection into the 21st century by replacing the JKV color dot book labeling system. How many of you remember that? with the standard Dewey Decimal System. This project required removing little round stickers from the spines of almost 4,000 books, then creating, printing, and placing new Dewey Decimal System stickers on those same books. Now our library looks like a real library, and books are much easier to locate. The library committee has also made the online card catalog readily available to residents. Residents can access it from the standalone kiosk in the library or from the portal using any smartphone or tablet. A new program for purchasing books was adopted. Under this new program, books by up-and-coming authors and New York Times best authors are being added to the collection on a regular basis. The Books on Wheels program was begun. Each week, volunteers take 100 books to the Audubon and Bay apartment lobbies to make it easier for residents in the apartments to check out library books. A new computer for resident use was purchased and installed. A training video on how to use the online card catalog was produced and is currently available on the portal. A plan was implemented to support regular delivery of newspapers to the library. Now you may think, why would you need a plan? But trust me, it has not been an easy achievement to have newspapers show up. Upcoming events include the library open house for Friday, July the 15th. Details are in your Village Weekly. And on August 17th, there will be a presentation by a member of the Volusia County Library System. They will explain services that can benefit our residents. We hope you will plan to attend these events and future library events. Please continue to reach out to the committee, knowing what you know and what you would like, knowing what you like and what you would like to see improved enables us to serve you better. Thank you. The next speaker is Mike Marks, Chair of the Employee Appreciation Fund. There you go, Mike.
Good afternoon, Mike Marks, Employee Appreciation Fund Committee Chair, Council Rep Wayne Ash, Committee members Charles Anna Bureau, Sherry Clark, Ann Gillis, Ed Grohl, Mary Ellen Humphreys, Jean Marks, Ann Miser, Donna Rieger, and the staff liaison, Elvira Wolford. The most important part of our committee is the residents. We consider all of you as members of our committee at large. We appreciate your generosity. We also appreciate your participation in the events that we hold. The putting tournament was a success, and August 1st we're going to be handing out, cards are going to be available to thank the employees in writing, and the back wall will be transformed into a wall of cards that I know the residents really appreciate the chance to recognize the employees that do them well during the year. Comment cards are for individual events, and our thankful cards are meant to show the appreciation over the entire year. Coming up in October will be the Cornhole tournament that was a success last year, and I know that everybody will again take part. I want to say a few words about why we have an Employee Appreciation Fund. As a reminder to residents who have been here for a while, and as an introduction to those new residents. We provide a monetary gift. It's the only way we can provide the gift from JK residents to JKV employees, because during the year, that's not acceptable. The fund is just the Employee Appreciation Day is held in November and is the day when JKV employees receive their checks. The only employees left out are the JKV management leadership team and the sales force. As a reminder, the donation is not tax deductible. Dining account surpluses can be donated. And we will run in the Village Weekly a more comprehensive list of all a more comprehensive explanation of the fund. Our goal in 2022 is $380,000, and we have collected $49,000 so far this year. And though that seems like a gap, we're ahead of schedule from last year, and I'm confident in the residents showing their generosity to our employees. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to see some smiling faces. Last time I spoke in this room, it was empty. I thought I was talking to myself. I'm Jerry Altenhoff, Chairman of the Facilities Committee. I have 6 fellow residents who voluntarily help with this committee. Look at the chart. Pam Gregg is our resident council rep who can take over if I'm unavailable, and she has done so twice this year. Greg Pikula represents the hobby shop. Lonnie Ricks takes care of our recycling efforts here at John Knox. Mary Lee Sharp is our secretary, and Bill Sharp and Kathy Summers are members at large. Just what does the Facilities Committee do, you ask? We are a liaison between the JKV managers of the physical plant regarding its operation, and we keep the residents apprised of what they are doing. And there are 5 departments that keep the physical plant of John Knox running smoothly. Mr. Mark Otto represents the maintenance of everything from your air conditioners and your light bulbs to major projects like roof replacements and the installation of the Centrix cables and boxes. In addition to those huge projects this quarter, Mr. Otto directed the painting of crosswalks and added signage for our safety. He manages a staff of terrific skilled workers who can be seen around the village helping residents with things that add to our safety and our comfort. He also tracks rainfall amounts and plans accordingly to head off flooding incidents by lowering pond levels and by cleaning the drainage pipes. Mrs. Jackie Prescott manages the transportation department that provides short inter-village trips as well as longer ones to places like Orlando Airport or Jacksonville to the Mayo Clinic. Church trips run every Sunday, and trips out of the village occur frequently just for our entertainment. Jackie sees that the vehicles are kept safe and comfortable, and she oversees a fleet of great drivers who cheerfully take us wherever we want to go. Mr. Steve Plimpton manages our security team. He reports the number of response calls that they receive each month, and he tracks the average time it takes to respond to a call or a pulled cord. Generally, it is less than 3 minutes before help is available. Each month, his staff makes wellness visits to any resident who doesn't trigger their pull cord device in the morning, the one that's in your bathroom. It gives me great comfort to know that these services are there to help all of us 24/7. Mr. Kevin Culligan is our new ground maintenance manager, and if you look around outside, you will see the great improvements in our lawns, trees, and other plantings. His big project this quarter was removing 13 dead or dying trees, and he will be planting 20 new trees in the near future. Kevin is also responsible for the collection of our garbage twice a week, removing outdoor pests like ants and wasps. And lastly, he maintains our irrigation system over the entire village. The fifth department that reports to the Facilities Committee is the housekeeping under the direction of Lori Payne. She reports the number of houses that have been cleaned monthly by those wonderful, pleasant housekeepers. She also tells us the astounding number of pounds of laundry they complete monthly. This quarter, it was a mere 132,980 pounds of stuff. So that's what the Facility Committee does. I know you appreciate these people working on your behalf, because I have received, the Facilities Committee has received over 200 comment cards, the vast majority of which were very positive comments of praise of these employees. These folks greatly enhance the quality of all of our lives. So please keep those cards coming. We appreciate hearing from you. And now I'll introduce Tony Artigler, Chairman of the Finance Committee. Tony?
Thanks, Jerry. I'm Tony Artigler, Chair of the Finance Committee. Let's start with our committee membership, including Ken Falter, our council rep, and committee members Chuck Ashley, Linda Somm, Bill Ellis, Walt Scanzi, Bill Mahar, and Jerry Yaris. Our staff liaison is Cynthia Pohl, Chief Financial Officer. The Finance Committee reviews accounting reports to monitor the financial health of John Knox Village and shares that information with you. Let me put that another way. The Finance Committee is looking in the rearview mirror to see where we've been, as opposed to Mr. Trainer and the Board of Directors, who are looking through the windshield to see where we are now and where we're going. This quarter, we reviewed two documents: the John Knox 2021 audited financial statements and the 2021 year-end report to the state of Florida. Much better. We'll start with the audited financial statements. The big two of our financials are the balance sheet and the statement of operations. The balance sheet simply tells us how much we have and how much we owe. In accounting terms, assets minus liabilities equals net worth, exactly the same type of information you put together in January for the ad valorem exercise to figure out your own net worth. The balance sheet shows that we have net worth of $127 million, with assets of $184 million and liabilities of $57 million. The largest parts of JKV's assets are investments and property and equipment, accounting for 80% of total assets. The largest liabilities are deferred revenue from entrance fees and refundable fees, refundable entrance fees, which account for 91% of our liabilities. Deferred revenue is the money John Knox sets aside to take care of us in the future, and the $17 million is the share of entrance fees that John Knox must hold on to in case we leave before we've been here for 4 years. The statement of operations is equivalent to your checkbook, which shows how much we took in and how much we spent. We took in $46.7 million, mostly from healthcare fees and monthly fees. We spent $37.9 million, with the two largest categories being healthcare operations and depreciation. If we subtract expenses from revenues, we get our operating income of $8.8 million, which is about $3 million better than 2020. So we're headed in the right direction. Let's turn to the year-end report to the state of Florida, commonly referred to as the OIR report. The Office of Insurance Regulation is the government agency charged with protecting seniors in continuing care retirement communities, or CCRCs. A law was passed 3 years ago requiring these quarterly reports to ensure that CCRCs don't go bankrupt. The reports are designed to show any potential problem areas, and the most important measures are the three which we've been reporting on in report card format. So far, for the past 3 years, we've exceeded each quarterly target for all three measures. So you may be thinking that it's easy to meet those targets. Instead of just numbers from John Knox, let's see how we compare with other Florida CCRCs. The first measure, cash on hand, measures our ability to keep operating if our income stream is cut off for some reason. This is similar to savings in your personal finances, and the target is 100 days. The median for the state is 387 days, with a range of 18 to 2,131 days. John Knox fits in comfortably here at 816 days. If we look at the range, one CCRC had only 18 days of cash in reserve, a clear red flag for anybody planning to go to that CCRC. At the opposite end, the CCRC with more than 2,000 days in cash, which is nearly 6 years, should find a better place for that money, such as investments. It's a waste to keep that much cash sitting around. The next measure is debt service coverage ratio, which sounds complicated, but it simply measures the organization's ability to pay back a loan and still have money left over each month for operating expenses. We see the statutory threshold is 1.2. The statewide median is 2.34, with a range of minus 54 to positive 54. The OIR has finally agreed with us that an organization automatically exceeds the threshold if they have no debt. So John Knox has no number for that slot, but there are only 55% of CCRCs were able to meet this standard. The final measure is the one many people consider the most important, and it's the one that Joe Trainer covers in every one of his monthly chats: occupancy. If we think of this as income, which it really is, the higher the number, the better. The target is 80%, and at 86%, John Knox is pretty close to the median. As you've seen, John Knox is in strong financial position, and we compete favorably with other CCRCs in Florida. But there's one more chart I'd like you to see, and this is from a report put out by OIR covering end of year 2020. When we get the 2021 numbers, I'll share those with you. This graph shows, on a percentage basis, how we compare with all other CCRCs in Florida. For example, with 640 residents, we're larger than 90% of CCRCs. Our average age, 85 years, makes us younger than 2/3 of our competition. Our occupancy rate and entrance fees were about average for the state, but our average monthly fee was lower than 79% of CCRCs. Just a note here, because we're using 2020 numbers, and you might wonder how we're doing on monthly fees for this year. We had a visit 2 weeks ago from Bennett Napier, the executive director of the Florida Life Care Residents Association, or FLICRA. Bennett visits CCRCs throughout the state, and he told me that our 2.5% is the smallest increase in the state. The average is between 5 and 5.5%, double what you're paying. And one CCRC started the year with a 6% increase, but had to increase it an additional 6% at mid-year. The final measure is income or loss, and we had a better income than 98% of our competition. In fact, more than 45% were operating at a loss. So if you put it all together, we're not operating at a loss. Our monthly fee increase is the lowest in Florida. We are one of only 2 CCRCs without debt. I'm very thankful to be here. Thank you for your attention. Next up is Wayne Ash of the Food Committee.
Good afternoon. As Tony said, I'm Wayne Ash. I'm the chairman of the Food Committee, and we eat a lot of food here, and often. So I would like to list the members of my committee for this year. Our Residence Council representative is Tom Harmon. He is available to replace me if I'm unavailable for meetings. The members of the committee are Joanne Gerhart, Claudia Graham, Fred Hagman, Jerry Hazley, Marilyn Mayo, Mark Miser, and Karen Yaris. Our staff liaisons who attend our meetings each month are Stan DaCosta, the Director of Campus Services, Dim, our dining room manager, and Raven, our new executive chef. They are available at our meetings for us to ask questions, make suggestions, and learn from them what future plans our food services are going to provide. Food Committee wins the trophy for receiving the most comments each month. And we average about 100 comments each month. And the good news, though, is from 85 to 90% of those are positive. So I'd like to point out today to you not only the importance of your comments and some of the results that they have provided recently. As you know, because of COVID, the salad bar was closed for now, I think, up to 2 years or a little longer. So this year, through your comments here again, salad bar was reopened and additional protein and bean choices were added to the selections. There was a change in the menu at the Cranes, whereby the steak entree was removed, and from you, the request was taken notice of, and the steak entrees have again returned to the menu. Daily specials now change each week at the Cranes, and takeout is now provided from the Cranes. Menus now are available with nutritional values listed on the menu and can be obtained by request at the Crane's hostess stand, excuse me. Curbside pickup continues, but will probably be discontinued sometime in the future. Some previous bay entrees that were available before the switch to the all-Italian menu were unavailable for a while, and because of your request, they have been added to the grill menu. The turkey entree at the grill disappeared for a while, but now is back. And we have occasional specials now at the bay menu to kind of give you a little variety from the Italian entrees. In the gathering room, where the library used to be, tea was not available, but now is provided along with coffee. So you can see from these few examples that your comments do create actions that are taken. I think, however, the most important comments that we receive are those that praise our employees for their service or compliment the quality of a meal. Those, by the way, are passed along to the employees and also to the chefs. Our food service staff does an outstanding job providing almost now, with the addition of Valencia Landing, 16,000 meals a month. Even though there remains a supply shortage problem at times and still a difficult employee market. I think all in all, we have recently seen improvements in our service from the servers. The meals are more consistently of good quality. And I think the future, it looks very bright for us. Thank you and bon appetit. The next presenter is Ken Falter, the chairman of the Health Committee.
That should work. Can you hear me? Excuse me a minute. I got to take attendance, see how many of my committee members showed up. I'm chair of the Healthcare Committee. The committee consists of Mike Marks, the council rep, 6 committee members, resident members, Barbara Brown, Mary Ellen Humphreys, Ellen Klein, Joyce Monaco, Donna Regenstreif, and Bev Schlecht. And our staff liaison is Nicole Vega, the Director of Clinical Services. Now, we don't have representatives from any areas. Each of our committee members is assigned as a liaison to one of the healthcare departments here, and we keep in touch with them and keep up with what's going on, and sometimes we poke our nose in and get active, and I'll report on some of what's going on. With some reorganization, we now have 5 different healthcare departments: assisted living at Oakview, the fitness centers, home health, Majestic Oaks, which covers 3 different functions: the inpatient long-term care, the memory care, and the rehabilitation therapy. At Oak Park, we have 3 departments operating: the pharmacy, the clinic, and outpatient rehabilitation therapy. So each of our committee members is assigned to at least one of these areas. First off, I want to recognize a major, major achievement at Majestic Oaks. Once again, this is not the first time, but once again they have earned the gold seal of approval from the Joint Commission on Accreditation. They've been approved for nursing care center, post-acute care, and memory care. That's the whole gamut that this organization looks at. It demonstrates that we have a nursing home facility that excels, that meets the performance standards, that shows their commitment to safe and effective patient care and resident care. And so a big thank you to our nurses, to our management, to everyone here at John Knox who's involved in the healthcare effort at making this happen. So in addition to our wonderful financial shape, we are in wonderful shape health-wise in terms of our facilities. I also want to mention our activities coordinators at Assisted Living, Nancy Cromit, and at Majestic Oaks, Samantha Baker, and their staff. They do an absolutely fantastic job of keeping the residents of both these facilities active and entertained. It warms my heart every month to hear the report of what's going on and what's special this month relating to holidays and any excuse that they can come up with to get in a costume, to get something going on. They do it. And it is truly, truly amazing. Now, I'd like to discuss the clinic in a little bit of detail. I try to give you a little flavor for at least one department each quarter. The clinic is located on the second floor of the Oak Park Senior Services Center. It's run by Martha Cullen, who's an advanced registered nurse practitioner. The advanced means that she doesn't need as much supervision by an MD as she did earlier in her career. She's assisted by Angela Schmel, a nurse assistant. Martha spends 2 days a week at MO and assisted living making house calls. The other 3 days a week, she's at the clinic. The clinic also sees John Knox employees. That's part of their health plan and health coverage. And by having her handle any little things that come up while the employees are working, she keeps our workman's compensation payments down and keeps more employees on the job by taking care of their little problems and sending them back to work. So that's a great, great thing we have going here. And you can get many of your needed vaccinations at the clinic. My last slide is it's a graph of many colors. I've got a beautiful, sharply colored graph on this piece of paper in front of me, and I know that that's not exactly what's up there. And every time you go from one computer to another, from one terminal to another, and then to the system here, things change. So I'm going to refer to the lines not by the color, but where they are. These are the monthly clinic visits, each month by year, since I've been tracking them back in 2019. So the bottom line shows the year 2019. It goes up and down during some months. Part of some of the times, Martha actually let her take vacation. She's occasionally had a medical issue herself where she's been out, so you see some variation. The two middle lines, which I'm told one is yellow, and the other is green. Oh, that's not bad. That's the one we started with. Those were the COVID pandemic years. And even though our occupancy rate went down, the number of visits went up from 2019. We had more of us here needing some help, and Martha's very convenient to go to. The top line is this year so far. You can see that the 2022 business is picking up from the previous years, and it just shows the growth of the demands on the clinic. I'm sure Martha will be asking for more help, and that will be Joe's problem to deal with. One of the things the committee produces is healthcare hints. We started doing this last year. Through the course of the year, we produced 8 hints, and we've had a couple come out so far this year, and more will come. They appear in the weekly. They are put up on the portal under the resources, and from time to time, you'll see one of them reproduced in the Village Life magazine. I hope you read them. They're intended to provide helpful hints to remind you of things, and we'll keep them coming. I handle comments a little differently from my colleagues who get 70, 80, 120 a month. I get 3, 4, 5 a month. So I provide personal service. I respond to them all. I follow up on the negative ones, and I make sure the loop gets closed. Keep them coming. If you're having a problem, someone else may be having the same problem. So when we solve your problem, we've solved someone else's as well. And finally, a short commercial. I'm always available to meet with anyone there who has questions about the healthcare areas or who may be interested in joining the committee when next year rolls around. So just contact me if you're interested. And I'll now turn the presentation back to our president, Rita Brown.
Thank you to all the committee chair. You can see how hard the council members and their committee members work on the behalf of all the residents so that you can continue to have a good quality of life here at JKV. And I have a little bit of trivia. Of the 11 council members that have contributed on the stage, have contributed over 900 hours just in the last 5 months. And this doesn't include the hours they spend on their individual committees. So, and you can be sure there are a lot more hours that they spend that you just don't bother to keep track of. So I'm very proud of this council that I'm working with this year. If you'd like more information on the Residents Council, go on the portal under Resources, Organizational Documents, and you can find our organizational chart, our bylaws, our standing rules, mission statements and goals of the council and the committees, and a list of committee members. And and I would like to remind you, a lot of the committee chair have talked about the comment cards. They are very important. The best way to do it is on the portal because it's immediately seen by all the powers that be. You know, Joe sees it, Mr. DaCosta sees it, if it's appropriate for whatever department, they see it, and the president of council and vice president of council get it all immediately. So that's the best way to do it, but you can still do the cards if you would like. A little word of concern, feedback and suggestions, that is for more general comments. Sometimes we see comments that I didn't get my curbside delivery, or my grass needs treatment. Those kind of comments need to go under food or maintenance. So that's the way you're going to get the fastest attention. So it doesn't have to go through anybody other than them, so you can get the things done. I thank you for your attention and attendance, and I'm hoping those of you that are on Knox TV that we'll see you in September. So mark September 20th, and we hope to see you then. Now after this, as soon as they can get set up, will be the management quarterly. So stretch your legs and sit back down so you can find out what Joe and his team have to say. Thank you, and have a good week.
Good afternoon. How's everybody?
All right. You introduce the board members. Right. Like, try to remember the names. Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to apologize. Normally, I wear a coat and tie. I was an old country banker, and they sent me to Dress for Success many times, mostly because I didn't like to wear my jacket. But I've spent the last 4 hours at the DMV trying to transfer a title. So if anybody works for the county, just stay the hell away from me. Anyway, I apologize for my attire. First of all, I'd like to introduce the board members that are here from stage left. Is that right? Whatever side this is. Gary Wright. Gary used to be our former attorney. He's now joined the board and brings a tremendous amount of skill and experience. Dr. Merle Burgess. He's our pretty face. He's also has been an optometrist in the area for many, many years. I'm sure you're aware of, is it Vice Mayor? Councilmember Bill O'Connor. And Jerry Jacks. Jerry used to run the management company here and couldn't get a decent job, so we put him on the board. And I'm Dennis Stark, currently the chairman. And I generally treat that until the next election, and then you never know, it might be somebody else, but right now I'm chairman. So welcome. We appreciate, it is nice to see you folks, because we haven't done this, and I can't remember when. And I've been chairman for a year and a half or more, so we used to do these on a monthly basis. It's nice to see the folks. I do kind of wonder, is this all that's left of the residents? I've gotten great reports about how we managed to get through COVID and the things that we tried to do to make sure that you all were safe, mostly keeping us away in case we had it. But this room, Gary and I were talking earlier, this room used to be full, so I'm sorry that there aren't more people here. We may actually cover something of interest. Though, being an old country banker, I wouldn't say that because there wasn't much really interesting that came out of my mouth in all those years. Being no further information, I'd like to introduce Joe Trainer, Executive Director, or CAO. Mr. Trainer.
Needless to say, there will not be any jokes today. We've covered that. All right. I have a lot of material. Some of this stuff I've promised you over the last number of meetings that we have had. I've included it here. There are about 45 slides. But for those of you that have listened to the chat, I can break that down into about 15 minutes worth of time if I have to. But with that said, we want to congratulate our employees. Our employees during the pandemic have done an incredible job. All levels of care, all departments have done an absolute incredible job. And we want to congratulate many of them for their service. Now, for those that are new, when it comes on a quarterly basis, if we have employees that are celebrating a 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, or even in some cases a 30-year anniversary, we talk about them and we bring them up. These are the employees that just happen to have an anniversary in this what we refer to as the second quarter. So for 5 years of service, Zenaida Cordero, we decided we'd do one more. Hopefully in September, we will bring our employees back so you can recognize them and we can have more people appreciate them for their years of service. Zenaida is at Majestic Oaks. Rosemary Carjana, she too is at Majestic Oaks. Deborah Acapara, Majestic Oaks. Caitlin White, Majestic Oaks. Now you were worried about the turnover at Majestic Oaks, right? There you go. Crystal Yendell, Majestic Oaks, and Paul Smith for grounds. Those are all for 5 years of service. For 10 years of service, Martha Cullen. Everybody knows Martha, right? She does a phenomenal job. Ron Faustro from maintenance, and Shawati Nepal from Majestic Oaks. If you're wondering why it seems like almost every other employee is Majestic Oaks, out of almost our 500 employees, about 240 of those employees work at Majestic Oaks. For 15 years of service, Maria Rosa Matson at Majestic Oaks, Charles Parker Jr. in security, and Carol Rhodes for 15 years. That's tremendous. Board of Directors Insurance Review. One of the things we talked about recently is we talked about our increased costs of insurance. Our property insurance went up $584,000. But I'm going to just kind of give you just a brief. This was done at the board retreat we just had in May and presented to the board. I've cut it down here because it was an hour presentation. We're going to go through it rather quickly. We did an RFP, request for proposal, for insurance services. We had about 6 insurance brokers respond. From that, we were able to narrow that down, and we selected Marsh and McClellan. They are actually, if you look them up, they are the largest insurance agent in the country, insurance broker in the country. This is just kind of a little bit of their statistics in regards to Florida. They have 90 senior living accounts. They have $69.4 million in managed premium, 300 plus locations, 29 CCRCs. For those of you, we asked that question, how many CCRCs are there actually in the state of Florida? There are 71 CCRCs, and they represent 29 of them, and now 30 of them, because they now represent us with 41,000 plus covered beds. The stars are supposed to indicate the properties that they cover and the markets that they cover. So that is, they have pretty extensive experience, specifically in senior retirement communities, and hopefully we'll have a very beneficial relationship with them. These are some of the communities that they represent. Thought we'd throw that up there. You might recognize, some of you may have shopped some of these other communities as you were looking at retirement communities. You'll see the John Knox Village of Pompano is in there, Florida Presbyterian Homes, Westminster Communities of Florida. They are the largest CCRC provider in the state of Florida, along with a host of others. So you'll see those up there. Workers' comp. We frequently talk about expenses. One of the things we spend a lot of time trying to control is workers' comp. I always have had a belief that we control that. When I came here in 2015, our workers' comp premium was in excess of $450,000 a year. 400. Let that sink in just a little bit as we go ahead and we look through some numbers. This last year in 22, there was an overall decrease in workers' comp insurance rates, which means you could expect the market to go down. But that doesn't tell you how we have done. It just tells you that overall the market could go down. There's a lot of factors that affect that. One is backup of previous years of COVID. Some carriers the organizations were trying to get the carriers to provide coverage for COVID. There's a consent to rate charges. There's a rate, but then some insurance brokers or insurance companies decide they want to do an add-on to that. And we found out when we changed companies this year, we were actually paying a 30% consent to rate. I didn't know it. I went back through the paperwork and tried to find it, but we were paying 30% more than we needed to work with this particular insurance carrier. And then the mod ratings. Everybody knows the mod ratings. What you try to do is if you can have a mod rating of less than 1, it's great. When I came here, it was 1.57 was our mod rating. We're paying in excess of $450,000. What we decided to do during COVID, is we decided to allow our employees to take up to 80 hours, regardless of what their status was, whether they were here 1 month or they were here 20 years. We would allow them, and we would pay up to 80 hours if they went into the hole. We would allow an employee to take a negative 80 hours of PTO to cover them during COVID. And for a number of times, it actually worked out well for us. Did we get burned? Sure we did. We got burned on a couple of people. But what we didn't do is we didn't see all this experience going on to our workers' comp, and our workers' comp trying to decide whether they're going to pay for it or not. We bypassed that, and we bypassed our insurance. And what we did is we took care of our employees. We paid for the testing for our employees, regardless of what the section is. We paid for the testing down at Majestic Oaks. That amounted to in excess of $270,000 just for employee testing at Majestic Oaks. There's a lot of things that we did to control our experience and control our rate. So what does that all boil down to? If you go down and you look at the bottom number, our workers' comp, our expiring premium was $260,000. Proposed premium was $204,000. This is what our new brokers did for us. We got rid of that 30% add-on on the mod rating, and as you can see, some of those, we had worked with United Heartland before, which is kind of the big dog on the block, if you will. I personally like them. They're very good. Their claims people are very good. We've worked with Summit, and we've worked with AmTrust. And while we've had experience with both of those, we thought we've been paying too much. And later on, I'm going to show you about how much too much we were paying. So, moving right along, rates increased for general and professional liability. Rates increase was about 5 to 15% for stable programs. The industry as a whole is operating as a loss. Now, hopefully, I'll have that. Many carriers left the market. We frequently had that. We had claims. I worked with Gary Wright when he was legal counsel. We had somebody making a claim, and the insurance company paid more for that claim just to get out of the market than the claim was actually worth. What does that do? That sets up a precedence for everybody else. Even though they say, well, you know, it's confidential information and it's not shared. My belief is it gets around. And then the COVID litigation, still in its infancy. We believe that we're clear on that because we took really good steps and we took care of our employees and took care of our residents the best we could in regards to that. So I love this slide. So this is the healthcare liability. If you look at the top one, green is less than 95%, and that is what they refer to as a combined ratio. So you'll see that a combined ratio for everything was less than 95% during the 2011-2012. So as we jump through, you'll notice that there gets to be more yellow, more orange, more red, and in 1920, there's far more red. That means those people are in excess or somewhere between 105 and 115% of combined, which that's not just affecting insurance companies, but it's affecting reinsurance companies, insurance companies that are insuring insurance companies. And you'll notice Florida is in there. So there are a number of people that are litigation happy, especially when it comes to skilled nursing care. And with that being the case, we are no different. So there are people that come into the market and leave the market just very, very quickly, and that keeps shrinking the market as far as those who are willing to go ahead and insure us. You'll see the very top one there, TDC Specialty. We've been with them for a number of years. Jump down to the bottom, you'll see our expiring premium was $383,000. Our proposed was $396,000. But had we not gone with them, the next best offer would have been $574,000. So almost a $200,000 increase in that with $100K. So we stayed with TD Specialty. We've had good luck with them. We've had a good experience with them. And while nobody wants to pay more, in this particular case, it's well worth it. It's worth it to us. Commercial, I won't bore you with this. Our employees do a great job, and you're going to say, wow, you mean you guys pay $60,000 for car insurance, automobile insurance, with all the vehicles you have? Most of our vehicles don't go over 20 miles an hour, and 70% of them never leave campus. So that's how we get away with the rate that we possibly have. This line of commercial is with Philadelphia, and Philadelphia has been very good to us, and a $3,000 increase in premium. Nobody could match what Philadelphia did. So there you go. Now you know what we're paying for insurance. Cyber. As you can imagine, the cost of cyber has gone through the roof. Now this graph starts in November of 20. So it's just about, 19, 20 months old now? And you can see what the trend has been for cyber insurance. We got into it early, and we found out that it was a good idea that we did. Our expiring premium, $8,600. Our proposed premium was $17,000. The thing to look at is the next two quotes that we got started at $21,500 and $34,000. So even though we doubled our premium, the options were 3 and 4 times what we would have normally paid. So yes, we do have cyber insurance. Now this just kind of takes all those numbers and puts it together. So our expiring premium was $775,000, and we had a proposed of $747,000. Pretty good, right? But wait, there's more. Commercial. We've banged on this a lot over the past 5 years. There have been 86 events with losses over $1 billion. Did you know that? 86 catastrophes in the last 5 years. 2020 had 22 events alone, and 21 had 20 events. 2020 caused set a new annual record. And of course, we all know what's going on with the price of construction, price of labor, cost of material challenges. All that stuff just keeps going up. I have been trying to really take advantage of the real estate market for my entire life, and it seems like the harder I try to time it, the worse I do. This last time, I just got lucky. We built our house early, and it's not worth what they're saying it's worth, but it's nice to dream. But those are real factors that are affecting the cost of real estate. And will the bubble burst? Yes, the bubble will burst. And how far will it go? Nobody really knows. But those are the disasters. 2017, Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Maria, Hurricane Irma, wildfires in California, Oregon, and Montana. And you'll see that on your left side of your screen. 2018, Hurricane Michael and Hurricane Florence. And again, California, Oregon, Washington accounted for $22 billion. So in 2017, you had $24 billion. In 2018, you had $22 billion. 2019 wildfires in Alaska and California, $4.5 billion. 2020, 2021, and you'll see that the wildfires in 21 between California, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington is $10.6 billion. So you know there's going to be a disaster somewhere. It's going to happen. This is what we got. These were some of the things that we had to deal with our insurance. Everybody knows the roofs. We had hail damage to the roofs. We got the roofs covered, 251 roofs plus a couple of our commercial buildings were covered for just over $11 million in claims. But it was one thing to get those claims, but now we have to go renew our our property insurance, and what happens? Well, we don't have any work on those roofs done. We want the same carrier to be involved, Velocity to be involved, and they're sending us a notice they have an intent not to renew. So what do? Beg, borrow, plead, make deals, and that's exactly what we did. Because at that particular time, we didn't have 10% of the work done on those roofs. MMA called their C-suite and taught their corporate office. They went and met, and they pulled a favor. And so that's why we're pushing hard to make sure we get our roofs done as soon as we possibly can. We cannot go through another renewal period and not have all our roofs done. So we're pushing hard on that. So if you hear me scream every once in a while, you'll know why. We want to make sure that we get all our roofs done, not just the residential roofs on the cottages and the villas, but on the apartment buildings and everywhere else. So these are all the insurance carriers that we spoke to. And you'll see a lot of them say, hey, decline due to ongoing, unable to compete with a $25 million primary. To get the coverage that we needed, we need to work with 7 different insurance carriers. 7 different insurance carriers. And this is what we ended up with. While the expiring premium of $274,000 covered the entire property, about $100 million, the new premium would not, because we had damage. And so we thought the best place it would put us would be about $35 million worth of coverage. $35 million worth of coverage through 7 different companies put us at a renewal premium of $858,000. That is $584,000 more in property insurance that we had to pay. Make sense to everybody? Now you're going to say, Joe, what does that 11 million plus mean? Well, we had an $11 million claim, so we're going to replace all our roofs, and right now that $11 million claim has cost us $584,000. Is it a deal? I mean, it's more than I could pay out of my pocket, but yeah, it's kind of a deal. Now we'll see if we can get everything done to see if that will be sufficient for a lot of the carriers next year, to see if they'll drop our premium or keep our premium the same. But that's what we're looking at. We got an $11 million benefit, and we had to pay just about $600,000 more. Pretty decent deal when it's all said and done. Nobody wants to have to go through it, but it worked out well. Many of our roofs were going to be replaced in the next 5 years anyway, because they were 20 plus years old. Human resources. I hear this question all the time. Joe, can't you recruit good personnel? What's going on with the personnel? And you guys are not hiring, or you hire good people and then they leave, kind of what's going on. Well, in 2019, we changed some of our things, but we're going to go and talk about workers' comp first. Remember, I promised you we talk about workers' comp. Now, the years that we work on are 18-19. Our workers' comp starts on April 1st of the year. So our workers' comp started on April 1st, 2022. And it'll go through March 31st of 2023, not on a calendar year. So when you look at 2018-19, that's predominantly 9 months of 2018 and 3 months of 19. This just shows you, the blue shows you the medical claims. The red is the loss, and the line shows you the total number of claims that we've had. So the yellow line, as you see, it's kind of angling down. So since 2018, we went down to 20. We dropped that down to 14. To last year, we dropped it down to 10. And you'll notice when 2021, we had how many cases of lost time? 0. If you said 0, you'd be right. That's incredible. We care for, during COVID, 487 employees, and we had no lost time? I'm just going to say that's pretty incredible. I mean, that's lucky and blessed at the same time. So that's what that line shows you. This shows you over the last 4 years, total number of claims, and then the number of claims that are open. Now, I can tell you I've been doing this portion a long time. It's not uncommon to have a claim that's 3 or 4 years old that still lingers out there and stays open. But from 20 to 21, all the previous years, we have 0 claims that are open. That's a lot of work that takes into that. And so for 21, 22, we had 10 claims. 7 of those are closed and 3 are open. Still, pretty good numbers. And this is as of March 5th. If you're wondering what the date is, May 5th. Indemnity, this just shows you what we have spent. We've broken it down for you. We're just kind of give you the numbers. You'll see that indemnity claims for 2021 is 0. No, it's not a mistake. It's not a typo. It's 0. And then you'll see in 2018, 2019, you'll see that it's about $69,000. You're going to say, Joe, what happened there? Well, I think many of you have been here and know what happened there. If you remember, we had an employee that got hit by a resident with a van while they were painting the parking lines. That's what happened there. And you'll notice that the medical claims, out of that 123,000, about 90-some thousand of that was medical claims for that employee. So the medical, you'll see it's 17,000, but to get to where we really want to be, so when we're paying in excess of $200,000, $260,000 just last year, what benefit did we get out of it? If you were to say $17,279, you'd be exactly right. And so for the last 4 years, with the exception, and it's a 3-year rolling period, so this next year when we put on our new year, 2018, 2019 will drop off. And so, those are pretty good numbers. I'm pretty pleased with those. $17,000 one year, $50,000 in another, $151,000. Those are all acceptable numbers. There's a lot of things we do, though, to affect our workers' comp. Martha, we just talked about Martha celebrating her 10-year anniversary. All employees that are injured go to Martha. Martha kind of does a little triage. What she'll do is she'll decide whether she can handle it, it's first aid, or they get sent on and they need to go somewhere else, whether they need to go to x-rays, they need to go to urgent care, or they need to go to the hospital. That's what we do. We use the resources. So while we look at what Martha is doing and saying, well, that really doesn't pay for itself, but wait a second. Now, what would you do with that other $183,000, well, it's more than that, $140,000 plus that is in excess, helps us control our costs in workers' comp and insurance. Because if you didn't know, we are self-insured. Our employees that are insured can go and see Martha, and there is no charge to them. Again, another employee benefit. So these are the first aid claims for 18, 19, 20, 21. Can kind of throw a circle. Can you guesstimate how many we plan on having this year? Just about 24. So right now in 22, we have 11. Employee turnover. Now this is going to go fast and furious. Joe, why are employees leaving? These are the top 10 reasons why employees are leaving. They voluntarily leave due to personal health or family. Voluntarily disclose, they don't disclose, and one of it might be is they might be upset with a supervisor, might be upset with the organization, so they don't really disclose to us why they're leaving. Accepted employment offer for another company. They voluntarily changed a career, all the way down to number 10 is unsatisfied with pay. Now, if you want to beat on me about pay, go ahead. But according to us, according to the numbers, it falls at number 10 is people leave because they're unsatisfied with the pay. I shared this one. There's a lot going on here, but let me explain it. What we did is for the last 4 years, 18, 19, 20, and 21, and those are calendar years, we broke it down by 0 to 3 months, 3 months to 6 months, and 6 months to 12 months, the number of people that have left. And what sticks out to you? The big 93, right? In 2021, we had 93 employees leave with less than 3 months of employment. Why would that be? Well, everybody has their theories, everybody thoughts. So where are we focusing our efforts? We're focusing our efforts on 0 to 3 months. All new employees in their first 90 days, trying to do a lot of things. You'll see that 20% of that 93, 20% of those people left without notice. 37 left due to personal health reasons, 20% left due to other employment, 10% voluntary terminated, and 13% for multiple reasons. So let's just say between that, you have about 87% of those people that could you have really done something about it? A fifth of them are leaving without even giving notice. I'm just going to tell you from our experience, getting unemployment was very, very easy. Here's our annualized turnover. If you wondered what we did as an organization, we normally hung right around 35, 32, and in 21 we went up to 47% turnover. Now, can you tell me which department leads in turnover? Come on, you all know it. Food service, you're exactly right. Food service. This shows you the Volusia County's unemployment rate. So while you can see a big bump in 2020 during the pandemic, people were laid off, a lot of people went for unemployment. We even had employees that got sick on COVID, went and filed for unemployment. Even though they were coming back to work, they went and filed for unemployment. Recruitment. Recruitment is near and dear and it's important to us. In 2019, not in 20, 21, or 22, in 2019, we launched a new hiring and onboarding, replacing the Kronos software system that we had. There's an annual cost savings of $18,000. Sounds good so far, right? Some of that came from ZipRecruiter, Indeed, the biggest came from Penny Saver, and it got us more exposure to 5 job boards, including Indeed, Glassdoor, Simply Hire, Trovit, and U.S. Military Pipeline. Now, this gets really confusing, so I'm going to take it time. 2018, everybody see 2018. The big number, 1,942, is the number of applicants that we had. So this is pre-paychecks. And we hired 218 of them. So now if you look ahead, up that yellow line, we hired 11.23% of all the employees that applied. This isn't always people that just interviewed. Those are the number of people that applied. And we hired 11.23% of them. So in 2019, we jumped to 2,600 employees and hired 235. We hired more employees. Pretty good deal, right? We got more employers, we hired more. We hired 8.71. Now, 2020, we almost doubled that. 4,300 applicants. That's crazy. We hired 143. Why? Well, let's go to 2021. If you thought 20 was crazy, 6,021 applicants is the number that we had, and we hired 237, almost 100 more than we did the year before. But why was there such a decline in the hiring? Well, what we found is a lot of people were applying for jobs to fulfill their unemployment requirements. And so when we would set an interview, when you've heard people talk about, hey, we've called 6 people, we went through the applications, we looked at them all, we've identified 6 people, we have 6 people coming in, and 4 people are a no-show, that's real. For the CFO position alone, just the CFO position alone, I got 55 applicants for that position. I didn't say they were all qualified, but I got 55 applicants for that position. And there's a lot of people that want to move to Florida. I can tell you that probably in excess of 20%, maybe closer to 25% of the people that applied were from somewhere in the north applying for the CFO position. That's a lot. That's a lot. So far this year, we've had 1,889. Again, this was as of May 5th. That number is well over 2,000. But the directors spend a significant amount of time reviewing applicants, setting up interviews to interview people, and then get a no-show. I can't count the number of times where we've hired an employee, tell them that we're going to do a drug test, and they're a no-show for their drug test. We've had people that have come in, interviewed, we'd offered them a job. They said, hey, I'm going to go out to the car to get some paperwork so I can do my drug test and my background screen, and disappear. Now, it's not the managers not doing their job. It's not the directors doing their job. They're working hard to get people in. We have a requirement that we ask them to review those applicants within 48 hours. 48 hours on the outside, somebody's reviewing those applicants. Why is it 48 hours? because it could come on a Saturday and they have until Monday to review it. So their work level has increased. They're reviewing people. They're setting interviews and getting people that are just no call. So the issue about getting applicants, it's not a problem. Qualified applicants, well, we believe when we interview them, we think they're qualified. But that is the big hole that we find ourselves in, spending a lot of time spinning our wheels. It's not uncommon for Mark Otto to come to me and say, Joe, I've called 20 people today. I got a hold of 7. I set 4 interviews. It's almost like he's in sales. He's making 20 cold calls. He connected with 7 people and he got 4 appointments. Only 3 of those 4 appointments not to show. It's incredibly frustrating. So, last and certainly, of course, not least, I am going to go through this very quickly. I appreciate your patience. This is, as of March 31st, 2022, this is our balance sheet. Total assets is $181,000, and that's broken down to, everybody knows that net assets plus liabilities equal total assets. We have $55 million in liabilities. Most of that is in long-term. Those are deferred, and those are entrance fees that we owe. Should we stop doing business today, we would have to refund those entrance fees. But we're about $125 million in total net assets. So, operating revenues. This is this year. This is as of March 31st, 2022. Service fee, which is only independent living. Healthcare, which is assisted living. Majestic Oaks, it's almost everybody at Oak Park. That is, you'll see that the service fees for independent living are $4.1 million. For healthcare, it's about $4 million, so not quite a 50-50 split, but pretty close. And other operating, Joe, what's other operating? That is dining services and the Scoop. That's revenue from them. So we're at $8.378 million in revenue. And this is the breakdown. 4.2 million in IL, 6.8 in AL, 2.5. You can read those yourself. The pharmacy is about $536,000 for the first 3 months. Again, that totals up to 8.387. And here's the breakdown in regards to wages and benefits account for 61% of our expenses. Healthcare is 8. Operating is 10, and administration and other is about 21% of our expenses. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
What is the policy for testing our employees?
Okay, the question is what's our policy for testing our employees for drugs? Our policy is that we drug test our employees upon hire. Then after that, on a quarterly basis, we do random drug screens. You can ask Stan about this. He's been here 6 months, and he got picked to do a random drug screen, and they have to pass. Now, we even had an employee who we thought would be a great addition to our team, has a medical marijuana card. We don't accept medical marijuana cards. It is against our policy. We follow federal guidelines when it comes to drugs, and right now, medical marijuana does not fit into that need. There, obviously, from our perspective, it's a concern about should there be an accident. They have medical marijuana and there's an accident, and how does that makes us compensable in that situation. So, but we do drug screen our employees upon hire, and then we do random drug tests. Other questions? That was the same question? Great. Well, if you don't have anything else, I do appreciate you indulging me. Let me run through this. Yeah, it is a little bit different. This will be posted to the portal if you want to look at it. Down the road, if you have questions, you know my email. Feel free to email me. You take care, and I appreciate your time. Have a great day. Thanks.